Greetings, one and all. Welcome back to Whatever Happened To, the series where we take a where are they now look at players who found success in the National Hockey League but are no longer permanent fixtures in the league either due to controversy, poor play or just rotten luck. In today's slightly cold-infested episode, you can probably hear it, we are going to take a look at the player involved in the Vegas Golden Knights' first big controversy since joining the NHL, as we ask, whatever happened to Vadim Shipachyov? Before coming over to North America to play in the NHL, the 31-year-old Vadim Shipachyov had spent the majority of his professional playing career up until that point in the Continental Hockey League. After 8 seasons as part of the Severstal Sharapovats organisation, which dated back to before the KHL in the Russian Super League days, Vadim Shipachyov moved to the powerhouse SKA St. Petersburg team for 4 KHL seasons. In 9 total KHL seasons and 445 KHL games, Shipachyov notched 137 goals and 275 assists for 412 total points. Being almost a point-per-game player throughout your whole career in the second best hockey league in the world is not an easy feat to achieve, and it is only accomplished by some of the most talented hockey players in the entire world. After winning the KHL's Gagarin Cup twice with SKA St. Petersburg over a 3-year span, and achieving the highest success possible in the second best league in the world, it appeared that Vadim Shipachyov, who wasn't getting any younger at 31 years old, wanted to take a crack at joining the National Hockey League across the world in North America and win the Stanley Cup, hockey's most coveted trophy. Shipachyov may not have received many offers in a normal NHL free agency because teams likely didn't know who he was, his career KHL stats, or his desire to play in the NHL. Being a career KHLer playing on a different sized ice surface his entire career means that Shipachyov is set in the ways of the European style rink, and that may not translate well to the North American style. Also, while he may still have plenty of gas left in the tank, Shipachyov was starting to move past the prime of his career at 31 years old, and teams may not want to take the risk on an older player who has played his best hockey already. Luckily for Shipachyov though, this wasn't a normal free agency, as a newly born NHL team would come knocking. The NHL's newest franchise, the Vegas Golden Knights, needed to find players for their roster that could have an immediate impact and help the team compete as soon as possible. Luckily for them, Shipachyov, who was the 3rd highest scorer in the KHL during the 2016-17 season, was there for the taking. Vegas announced on May the 5th, 2017 that they had signed Vadim Shipachyov to a 2-year, $9 million contract with an average annual value of $4.5 million a season. With this signing, Shipachyov became the 2nd player signed by the Vegas Golden Knights and was praised by Vegas' GM George McPhee for being a highly skilled playmaker who can be an impact player immediately in the NHL. Everything was looking good for Vegas, who had just signed one of the best players outside of the National Hockey League, and for Shipachyov, who was finally getting the chance to compete for the Stanley Cup in the best league in the world. Unfortunately, what came next couldn't have been predicted by even the greatest of hockey expert. Shipachyov arrived to the Vegas Golden Knights training camp before the start of the 2017-18 NHL season. Both himself and the Golden Knights were expecting Shipachyov to have a solid training camp, play as a top 6 forward on the roster, and perhaps take the first face-off on opening night of the regular season. However, Shipachyov didn't seem to adjust to the North American game as well as anybody would have hoped. Shipachyov seemingly looked lost in the NHL preseason, being too hesitant with the puck to make plays that someone with normal North American hockey instincts should easily make. This disappointing showcase gave Vegas GM George McPhee enough cause to demote Shipachyov to the American Hockey League for the start of the regular season. A player they had just given a $9 million contract to less than half a year ago was now playing in the American Hockey League. After starting the season in the AHL with the Chicago Wolves, Shipachyov was given a shot with the Vegas Golden Knights as he was called up to the roster on October 14th, 2017. Shipachyov played 3 games with Vegas and scored his first and only NHL goal in his NHL debut, but was sent back down to the Chicago Wolves in the AHL on October 24th, 2017. After being sent down for the second time in less than a month, Shipachyov decided to remain in Vegas instead of reporting to the Chicago Wolves. Apparently this was because Shipachyov had been promised a bigger role on the NHL team, including top-line minutes and shifts on the power play, at the time of signing his contract with the Vegas Golden Knights. This refusal to report to Chicago meant that on October 29, 2017, the Vegas Golden Knights suspended Vadim Shipachyov from the team. The next day, it was announced that Shipachyov had decided to return to Russia and that his contract would be terminated as soon as he had cleared unconditional waivers. Whilst this all sounded like a done deal, another party decided to throw their hat into the ring and draw this process out far longer than anyone would have liked. As part of the contract termination, Shipachyov had agreed to pay back approximately $1.9 million of his $2 million signing bonus he received from the Vegas Golden Knights when he signed his contract. Shipachyov was seemingly offering to repay the money even if he was claimed by another team on waivers. But the NHL Players Association very much opposed this idea. The NHLPA didn't mind the money going back to Vegas, but not if Shipachyov was claimed on waivers. If Shipachyov was to get claimed on waivers, Vegas' rights to that repayment is over as the contract was now in possession of another team. Another option for Shipachyov, other than being claimed on waivers, was to sign with a different NHL team on a cheaper contract after he cleared waivers and his contract with Vegas was terminated. However, Vegas wanted an assurance from Vadim Shipachyov that he would head overseas again and play elsewhere rather than sign with another NHL team, as they didn't want the deal they signed with him to be undermined and they didn't want his rights to be owned by a different team if it could be avoided. The best way to get round this problem was to have Vadim Shipachyov voluntarily retire from the NHL, which was announced as the plan of action on November 9th, 2017. After 3 games in the NHL and 1 goal, Vadim Shipachyov had likely become the quickest player to retire in NHL history, announcing his retirement less than a month after his NHL debut. Immediately after his retirement from the NHL, Vadim Shipachyov was allowed to sign with a team in the Continental Hockey League, which he did 2 days after his NHL retirement. Shipachyov signed a 1-year contract with his previous team, SKA St. Petersburg, on November 11, 2017, and has spent the remainder of the 17-18 season with that team. In 22 games with SKA this season, Shipachyov notched 9 goals and 16 assists for 25 points, continuing his roughly point-per-game pace that he had in the KHL before signing with Vegas. Also, Shipachyov notched 4 goals and 7 assists for 11 points in 14 KHL playoff games this season, as SKA were beaten in 6 games in the KHL's Western Conference Final against CSKA Moscow. After all that's happened, it looks like another Gagarin Cup isn't on the cards for Shipachyov this season. And finally, Vadim Shipachyov also was a member of the Olympic Athletes from Russia gold medal team in the men's hockey tournament at the 2018 Winter Olympics. To think that if he was still playing for Vegas, he wouldn't have been allowed to compete for Russia and he wouldn't have won that gold medal. Every cloud has a silver lining, ladies and gentlemen. So after signing with a team in the hopes of competing for the Stanley Cup, being thrust into the North American spotlight when things didn't go as planned and both parties wanted out, to returning to Russia and picking up where he left off, Vadim Shipachyov's 17-18 season has been a pretty crazy one to say the least. By the looks of it, Vadim Shipachyov seems pretty happy where he is right now. And, I mean, Vegas can't complain because they've reached 100 points this season on their way to their first playoff appearance. Whilst this might not have been the way anybody thought it would go, it's good to see that everything did kind of work out for everyone in the end. And there you go. That's what happened to Vadim Shipachyov. What do you think about Shipachyov's 17/18 season journey? Is it good, bad, or do you wish he got a slightly longer leash in Vegas before he was demoted to the AHL? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.